Everyone, it's Michelle from Boozy Bakers, and I'm going to show you how to make a really delicious beetroot chocolate cake, which is out of the cakes that I make. This has got to be one of the healthiest. Not only have you got lots of vegetables in it, it's actually dairy-free and not very much sugar in it at all, actually. So I'm going to just wait for a moment and let people log on. All the ingredients and equipment list is above in the details on Facebook, Virtual Village Hall. So you can either watch along and cook later, or you can bake with me, whichever you prefer. But I can see your comments, so if you would like to say hi, or you will have a question, then please don't hesitate to ask, and I will follow along. If you're going to be baking along with me, I'm using a blender, a handheld blender, but you can use a food processor as well. And I will repeat things, so don't worry if you don't hear something or I speed through, I will repeat, I promise. The other thing you're going to need, other than the ingredients, I've got a loaf tin. This is a 2-pound one. If it's slightly smaller, then you can use it. I won't fill this. It won't rise right to the top. So if you think, gosh, mine's not quite as big as that, don't worry. Still use what you've got, or you can use a muffin tin, you know, a cupcake tin, and do cupcakes instead. Hi, Irene. Yeah, Virtual Village Hall has just put up a comment. Please do read it about friend requests from a fake account. So do make sure that you've not been targeted and don't accept any friend requests from an unknown person. Hi, Janet. So yeah, this is like a feel-good cake. Jacqueline's getting hungry. Excellent. Well, not excellent that you're getting hungry. Excellent that we're going to fix that. Right. So first things first. If we set your ovens to 180 degrees Celsius. Or 160 for fan, or gas mark 4. So let's get the ovens on so they'll be nice at the right temperature, nice and hot for when we put the loaf cakes in if you're baking along. Do let me know if you're baking along with me as well. Of course, these are all recorded so you can come back in your own time. And what you're using, if you're using a food processor, I think someone had a smoothie maker that they were using yesterday or the other time I did it. So yeah, whatever you've got, get inventive. So I'll let you just set the temperatures, and I'll say those again. That's 180 for 180 degrees Celsius for conventional, 160 for fan or gas mark 4. Right, I'm actually looking forward to this. I think this is an ultimate tea time cake, I think. Right, I've got a pack of beetroot here. It says it's 250 grams. It'll probably be about 225. Please don't worry if you're a bit less or a bit more on the beetroot. It's about 3 beets. And these are cooked in natural juices. So whatever you do, don't use the ones with vinegar because that's not going to help your taste. So very carefully, I don't want the juices, I just want the beetroot. And I'm just making sure the beetroot does stain, so try not to get it on your tops, guys. So I'm just popping the beetroot into my mixing bowl. There we go, 2, 3. I love the smell of beetroot. It's really nice. There we go. I'll just do that. There we go. Right, so my beetroot's in the bowl. And to that, we're going to add, this is the only sugar, it's 100 grams. It's not too bad because this will feed quite a few slices, so, you know, it's not so bad. 100 grams. That's all your sugar now. And then to that, we're going to add 2 eggs. This really is such a good cake recipe because it's a chuck it all in. I mean, we're going to refrain from putting the flour in at this point because we want to fold that in gently. But on the whole, it's a bit of a chuck it all in recipe. So I like those. Not too much thought. So that's 2 eggs. Now mine are medium eggs, but please use what you've got. Hi, Yvonne. As I said, if you've just switched on and you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, have you gone too fast? I will do a little recap. So far I've got my beetroot, that's 225 grams. I've got 100 grams of sugar and 2 eggs. That's it. I've also got 20 grams of cocoa. So that's just plain cocoa, not hot chocolate type cocoa, that's plain cocoa. Adding that to it. Give that a shake out. And I know I'm just like running off all these ingredients. 100 ml of vegetable oil. Now you can use sunflower oil if that's what you have. And someone's asked about olive oil. You can use olive oil, but it's got more of a taste to olive oil, so that will start to affect your overall flavour of your cake. But it's not to say you can't use it. Just be aware that by changing up the ingredients, it can change the flavour. So the ingredients I've got left, which I'm not going to add at the moment, are my flour, my salt, and my baking powder. I'm going to leave those to one side. And my optional, you don't have to put extra chocolate on, but I've got some dark chocolate for after the cake's baked. So those I'm leaving aside. So in my bowl, I've got the beetroot, the cocoa, the oil, the sugar, and the eggs. Please do shout if you thought she's gone way too fast and I need to re-hear what she's just said so I can keep up. Now with my blender, I am carefully, really carefully going to go over the beetroot and just gently press down. I would usually not use my glass bowls so that you can see through them of what I'm doing, but because I'm using a mixer, I don't want to break the bowl, so I was using plastic. But I'm just gently going to go over the beetroot. So I'm going to be a bit noisy now. Bear with me. Right, that's 1 beetroot down. There we go, and another beetroot to blend. Right, I've now got some quite blended beetroot. I don't know how much I can show you without it running all over the place. There we go. But it's not all blended in together, so I'm just going to give it a mix up. If you're using a food processor, this might actually just be a bit easier that you can turn it on and let it do its thing. Don't know about you, but I think it starts to look a bit like a red velvet cake. Nearly there. There we go. So I've got like a really deep kind of purpley colour to the mix. I'll try and bring that over so you can see, but it's quite blended. I don't want to pour it onto the computer, but there you go. It's quite blended, and we've got a kind of a purpley tint to it. I'm just going to scrape that down and make sure there's no bits in it. There we go. So that's nice and smooth. And then we're going to add the flour. So I'm using plain flour. If you don't have plain flour, you can use self-raising. It's 170 grams. Now, if you need to sieve it, you can. But again, you don't have to with this. This is my kind of lazy, healthy cake. That's kind of like a bit of a what do you call it? A bit of a difference there. Contrary. Right. So 170 grams of plain flour, and then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Now, if you are using self-raising flour, just don't go crazy on the teaspoons. Here, you probably want half the amount. There we go, 1.5 of baking powder. Is gluten-free okay, says Eleanor. Yes, it is. Please do use gluten-free if preferred. What I would say is the overall cake is probably a bit denser than, don't expect it to be like a light, fluffy, big sponge. If it doesn't rise up to the loaf tin, please don't worry, because this is a little bit more in texture, like a fudgier kind of chocolate cake. It's just that bit denser, but that bit more delicious because it's so nice and moist. So particularly if you're using a different flour, if you think, oh goodness, that's why it didn't rise so much, it's not. It's just a denser chocolate cake. It's good. It's making my mouth water just thinking about it. So with the flour, you want to mix it in, like fold it in gently. So don't overdo it and don't over combine it. So if you are using a food processor, maybe pulse it, because we don't want to over mix this. Just be a bit gentle with it. All I'm trying to do is make sure that the flour's combined enough. Yvonne's asked, what does the salt do? So salt has a way of bringing out the flavour of your ingredients. So if you ever find salt in a recipe and you think that's a bit crazy, it will bring out the flavours that you've added to your cake a bit more. In the same way that coffee, well, it's not the same, but like sometimes if you're making something chocolatey, you can add a bit of coffee. And it makes it more chocolatey. And with cheese, you can add a bit of mustard and it makes it more cheesy. So salt in baking, if you're adding a bit of salt, it helps with flavour, bringing out the flavour. Right, there we go. So that's mine. You can see it's got little bits of flour in it, but they're just powdery little bits, and I'm not going to overmix that in. Maz says, how much salt did you put in? Just a pinch, just a pinch. So not too much at all. So my tin, I don't know if you can see this, I'll lift it out. I've just got a bit of parchment. It's only going that way, that's it. I haven't done the other way. And I've made like a little hammock with a bit of parchment paper just to help me bring the cake out once it's baked. So I'm just going to set that against the sides. You can see that I've just got a little lip here, so that once the cake is baked, thanks Virtual Village Hall, once it's baked, I can lift that out easily. So that's what we're going to put it in. But as I said, if you don't have a loaf tin, you can use, or if you just prefer, you can make these into cupcakes, or you can put it into, can you use a loaf tin liner, says Maggie? Yes, you absolutely can. Please do. Or you can use like an 8-inch Victoria sandwich tin. You might want 2 of those, and then cook both tins. If you're going to use something different to the loaf tin, though, you are going to need to adjust how long you cook it for. So Rose has asked, did I grease the tin? Yes, Rose, thank you. I did forget to say that. So I have just greased this tin with a little bit of oil. You can use margarine or butter, but as this is a dairy-free cake, I just went with a bit of oil, and I just greased the sides just so that I could stick this parchment in. You can go the other way as well if you want, but as long as you've greased it, it will be absolutely fine. So thank you, because I did forget to say about the grease. So that's my tin, but as I said, you can use different tins if preferred. And then I'm going to try and tip this so you can see it, a bit cat-handed. I'm going to just put this into my tin. I love the colour of it, but I am a bit obsessed with red velvet cake, so I think that's why I like this. It's got a very moist, almost, to be honest, it is a bit red velvety in that it just has that kind of different texture to this. And for anyone thinking I am not adding beetroot to a cake, you'll be surprised. It's ever so good. and it doesn't taste hugely of the beetroot, and you think you haven't actually added too much cocoa. It just complements the flavour so nicely. There we go. Just put my okay, sorry, I'm just checking the comments, but I think I've answered those. So I'm just going to level that out a bit. As I said, please don't worry if it doesn't rise all the way, because it is, I'll show you if mine, it doesn't go too far. It's just a nice denser cake. What would you cook it on for cupcakes? So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question here, but if you're doing cupcakes, I use some cupcake cases and I would fill them up about a half to 2/3 full. You'll get quite a few, you might get 12 or so. Put those in your tray, and then you don't need to adjust the temperature for your bake, but you will need to adjust how long. So if you've made a loaf tin size cake, I would recommend that you cook it for about 30 to 35 minutes. Mine tends to take the longer side of that, so I tend to do 35. If you are doing cupcakes, then I would recommend about 20 minutes. You can check a bit earlier than that if you want, but if you're doing deep cupcakes, like muffin size ones, I'd say about 20 is about the right time. The way to tell if this cake is done is, firstly, if you open the door, if it wobbles, it's not done. Just gently close the door and give it another 5 or so minutes, and then test again. If you get it out and it's, it looks cooked on top, then you can lightly press on with your finger. Be careful, don't burn yourself. If it bounces back, that would suggest that it's done. If you press your finger in and it leaves a dent, then that's undercooked. So again, pop it back in, give it a few minutes, and then retry. Yvonne, the gas number is gas mark 4. And then lastly, the other way to test it is to get a skewer. And if you're really not sure still, pop a skewer into the center of your cake, because that's where it will be the last bit to cook. If it comes out clean, if your skewer is clean, then it'll suggest the cake is done. If it comes out and you've got gooey batter on it, it's not done. So pop it in again for a few minutes. Jane's asked how much flour. Jane, don't worry about playing catch up. That's not a problem. You want 170 grams of plain flour and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So that's my tips for checking it's done. As I said, mine takes about 35 minutes usually. And then once it's baked, pop it on a side, put it on a cooling rack or the top of your hob for a minute. Let it cool down for a few minutes, and then you can transfer that, if you happen to have one, to a cooling rack for a bit. The other thing you can do, you can eat that as it is. You don't need to do anything more to it. But if you want to, one thing that is nice is to get about between 50 and 70 grams, depending on how much you want, I use dark chocolate, because out of all the chocolates, this is the better one to go for in terms of keeping healthy. So the dark chocolate, melt that down, and then just use a spoon. So pretend it's melted. Use a spoon and just drizzle it over the top of your cake. Or as long as your bowl isn't too hot, you can, once it's melted, you can just drizzle it on. So that's how I choose to finish it off. Or you could just leave it plain, or just do a little bit of icing sugar on the top. Someone did suggest cream cheese frosting would be very nice with this, which again, you could do, but in the interest of keeping it as healthy as possible, that's what I would suggest. I'm going to pop this in the oven, and then I'm going to take any questions you might have. Me. Middle shelf is always preferred. There we go. So it is a bit of a really quick recipe, this one, which I think is good to have up your sleeve. It's my kids are 10 and 12. And neither of them would eat beetroots. If you put it in front of them, they would definitely not eat it. But they like this cake, and actually they like it so much, they know there's beetroot in it and they will still eat it, as do their friends. So it's a good one for that. It's a good one in terms of, I think, you just feel you can justify it more. With a cup of tea in the afternoon, you can justify a slice because it really doesn't have that much naughtiness to it. So I think it's a really good one for that. And if you are dairy intolerant or you're just trying to cut down on your dairy, again, a really good cake to use. I would love to see your photos. Please feel free to send the Virtual Village Hall your photos. You might be able to put them underneath the comments, I'm not sure. But do show us what you've baked or how you've decorated them. I've seen them before that people have put some nice raspberries and blueberries on top, maybe some nuts along with the chocolate, or just leave it and just have a slice. I hope you do enjoy making it though. I do. Do you like a bit of cake? We make lots in the kitchen, but I do like how quickly that one is to make as well, because, you know, it's great baking, but sometimes you just want the results. So please do feel free to ask any questions you might have. We are back tomorrow for pizza making. And again, it's not too long to make, and it's a great dinner. I had my friend's kids were in the garden playing with mine the other day, and I thought, crikey, I wasn't expecting this. I need to give them some lunch. And you can whip up this pizza, which we're making tomorrow, so quickly, and then you can just chuck on whatever you have left in the fridge. So I think we had some extra chorizo, so that went on. But if I'd had some peppers that need to be used up, they'd be going on it too. So I hope you get to join me as well for that one. But I'll hang on a minute. I do appreciate this has been a quicker workshop than we usually have, but it's just the fact that it's just quite an easy recipe, and you can enjoy that and bring it out whenever you like. So let's see if there's any more questions about the bake. Jacqueline says, thank you for all your lovely recipes. You're very welcome, Jacqueline. I hope you enjoy making our recipes. I know that Virtual Village Hall do have a whole section, so if you're looking for food, you can catch up with anyone this week or previous weeks and find some more. So I'm Boozy Bakers, and we have lots of recipes to follow on our YouTube as well. But this one's been done for the Virtual Village Hall. For a healthy living week. I did use caster sugar. Yes, I did. If you want to use granulated, you can. If that's what you have available, please do. But I did use caster sugar myself. Rose says, thanks, Michelle. You're very welcome. I'd love to see the results of your bakes. Maggie's looking forward to trying this. Yeah, it's got veg in it. You have to be able to, that's all right. You can have 2 slices if it's got veg in it, can't you? Anyway, Virtual Village Hall says, we'd like to see any pictures of your cake, so please feel free to share them in the comments when you give it a go. Yeah, do. Just keep posting your photos and share the Virtual Village Hall with your friends and show off your chocolate and beetroot cake. And if they question putting beetroot in a recipe, you can tell them how lovely it is. I love your workshop as you include us and answer the questions. I've just got into beetroot. Yeah, I really like beetroot. I'm glad you like the fact that I answer your questions. That's what I think is so nice about this, is that you can ask as we go along, and I do love the interaction. I've got to say, I like a beetroot salad so if you've got like a glut of beetroot, if you happen to have put some extra in your your basket, your shopping basket, I have a thing about a pear, beetroot, walnut salad. I think that's really nice. Mazza said, what about carrot cake? We have done a carrot cake, which is available on our Boozy Baker YouTube site. I've got to say, our carrot cake isn't as healthy as our beetroot and chocolate cake, and it takes a bit longer, but then that's about grating a lot of carrots. But it is on there if you want to have a go. Jane says she's just putting it in the oven now. Beetroot needs using up, so great timing. Excellent. Yeah, I do like a recipe that can use up things from the fridge. That's always a good thing. So if you're ever thinking, I don't know what to do with this, you now know, put it in a cake. So I'll just hang on for a second more to see if there's any more questions. But I do look forward to seeing the results of this. Yeah, I will pop on a picture for you so you can see my cake. I've actually got one from the other day as well. So after this, I will put on a photo of my cake I made the other day so that you can see what it looks like. But as I said, the cake tin, you might find, depending on your flour or how much you've mixed it, you might find it rises. But if it doesn't, if it stays quite low, please don't worry, because it's almost brownie-like in how like chocolatey and moist it is. So please don't worry. Mazza says she cooks her own beetroot. You know what? I'd love to grow my own beetroot, but I don't have my allotment anymore. But I do roast. A nice recipe as well is to do some roasted vegetables and do roast beetroot, and then I put some halloumi cheese over the top and just bake it for a bit longer with the halloumi cheese on, and that's really good. Beetroot's an awesome vegetable. So please do go, if you've baked, put your photos on. If you haven't baked it yet, please have a go, share your photos, and enjoy. That is me done, guys. Gosh, 26 minutes. That's not long for a cake, really, is it? And it's already had several minutes in the oven. So enjoy, and I will see you again. Come back tomorrow for pizza making, and we'll sort out the kids' dinner as well. If you've got kids, this is the kids' dinner. It will make 2 8-inch pizzas or a 12-inch. So just to let you know now, if you're cooking for one, you've either got dinner and probably the lunch the following day sorted, or your whole family are going to be fed. Yvonne says, just have to be careful not to stain yourself with the beetroot. You absolutely do have to be careful with beetroot. It is not one for a white tablecloth, is it? Right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy your cakes. It's been lovely baking with you. Okay, bye.